I think we're live. We'll see if anybody. We should be able to see the chat window. You can see the stream chat. Let me look on Facebook. There we go. Facebook stream chat. All right.
I gotta get this up and running.
And let me. Oops. Oh no! Don't do that. Hey, we are live. We are on the Faces of Books. Okay, people can actually hear us and stuff. So people should be coming in at some point, hopefully.
I just like the three of us.
Yeah, well, we can just do that too.
Let's get rid of everyone else.
I have questions about the book. Like, where'd you come up with the idea? Like, you designed such an interesting world.
Thank you.
For this book. Like, how did that happen? Why? How?
This one was a bit easier because I based it off of ancient Greece, so at least I had like a foundation rather than building it up from scratch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew I wanted something set in ancient Greece and that I wanted this cool like script-based magic, and basically went from there.
That was cool. There was a lot of really unique stuff in there. The scriptoriums and the like you said, script-based magic. That was really interesting. Where did you borrow that from? Like another type of story, or did you just come up with that all on your own?
I mean, technically, scriptoriums are from like ancient England. They were where like I think monks would transcribe books. Yeah. So I sort of started with that idea, and then I just transplanted it to Greece and made it magical.
That makes everything awesome.
Yeah, the one thing I kept thinking when prepping the book was just how, I mean, it's based in fact, but it was just so original. Like, I think just because of the way our schedules worked out, I was a little bit ahead of it than Aaron. And I remember like emailing you or messaging you, and I was like, dude, this book, you're going to love it. It's really, it's unlike, and I'm not just saying this, I mean, it's unlike anything I've read, because all the typical elements of a story you come to expect from a genre like this, it's completely different, and I love it. It was so like refreshing. Yeah.
I agree. I have to agree. I was talking to my wife about that because she helps me prep my books. So she started reading before me to get all the real minute details. And then I go through and I read super, super duper fast to get the feel of the writing and the story and the characters. And I read mostly dialogue. Most of the I go through and slow read all the dialogue, and I kind of speed read a lot of the narrative. And she helps me kind of take that and kind of combine all that together. And she was so impressed. I was too, with this story. Just how, like Melissa said, how unique it was, and how interesting the magic was, and the world, and the characters. Every single character, even the little side characters that only had a few little blips of lines here and there, had so much depth. Like Captain Zara was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
he's fun.
As a female, she was super fun to narrate too, I have to say.
She was, yeah. I made her, she was a bit on the sassy side, a bit, she had a strong personality. She was a captain of a pirate ship, so, she had to be strong. That was one of my favorite characters besides the heroine and the hero and the heroine. Captain Zara was interesting. She was cool.
So can I ask, when you like are dual narrating a book and you have a character that you both have to voice, like, do you like compare notes to try to get the voice kind of the same, or do you just like go off and do your own take?
Do you want to take that, Melissa, or do you want me to kind of start off and then you can kind of?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely collaboration involved, especially when you have different worlds. You never want to make assumptions, but I have to say, there wasn't a lot of guesswork, because these characters from the get-go were so dimensional and just so well scripted. I don't know how to describe it, that it painted a picture of what they would be like anyway. So I'll be curious, if you haven't already, if you've listened to the audiobook, if it
I
kind of
haven't.
oh my God, if it kind
I'm
of
very
matched
excited when
what
they
you
send it to me.
heard. Yeah, because, as a narrator, it's always like, oh, I wonder if this matched what she was hearing in her head when she was writing it. But sometimes the author is pleasantly surprised, like, oh, yes, that totally works.
Yeah.
But Aaron and I definitely collaborated because we just we wanted to make sure we honored these characters, and we felt the same way about how they should be represented
Yeah.
vocally.
Yep. We talked beforehand. We shared notes back and forth. Um, Obviously, we're not going to voice each character exactly the same. We're each going to give kind of our own little bit of style and nuance to it. But we both talk about it beforehand, and we come up with kind of like an idea of who the character is, and we both agree on that, and then we both kind of go kind of our own ways, but they always end up very, very similar in the end. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least that's how because I have a much deeper voice and she doesn't, so I'm always going to have a bit more baritone in my females, and vice versa. So
Yeah. So Emily, how much of Karis was you?
How much of Karis is me?
Yeah. Is there anything that you can relate to in that character, or were there pieces of you in her?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I think she's like the braver, more adventuresome side of me that I wish I could be. Honestly, personality-wise, I am much more like Alex than I'm like Karis.
Oh, yeah.
But everyone wants to go off on an adventure and dream of doing that, so I kind of gave Karis all of the dreams and aspirations that I will never be.
Don't say never.
Yes, I can't ever see myself on a pirate ship.
Never? Really?
Well, hey, Aaron and I both live in the Tampa area. We can make that happen.
Yeah, we have a pirate ship. We have a full-on historic pirate ship that sails once a year for the big Gasparilla Parade.
That must be fun, and you can go on it?
Yeah, you can go on it. I'm pretty sure you have to pay to go on it, but it basically invades Tampa Bay every year for the big starts out the big Gasparilla Festival, and it fires cannons, and yeah, it's docked in Clearwater, I think, somewhere. It's docked somewhere in Tampa.
And there's like a dolphin cruise that's in a like it looks like a pirate ship. It's cool.
Oh, forgot about that.
The closest I've gone into is that one ride in Disneyland.
What, Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh.
That one and like that big ship.
Yeah.
That like goes around the Robinson Crusoe Island.
Oh, yeah,
That's as close as I've gone. I live on the prairies, so ships are foreign to me.
Yeah. No, we live on the water. We live in the bay and all close to Tampa Bay. And Melissa lives a little further out. You live closer to Orlando, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of right smack in the middle.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I bet you guys don't have snow right now.
No way, man. It was 79. It was 81 degrees for about an hour on Monday, and now it's back. It's supposed to get down into the 40s again tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But no snow.
Did we get cold?
Yeah, it gets cold for like an hour. Yeah, it'll be cold tonight.
Emily's in Canada, so
I know.
So
our cold is much different than her cold.
Yeah.
So we don't have much snow for January, so I'm very thankful.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How are, I know this is kind of off topic, but how are you doing with the pandemic? You doing okay?
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
There's ups and downs, of course, but
yeah.
With my book release in a couple of days, I'm on and up.
I know, like when everyone else is kind of like slowing down, man, this book hit right when it needed to. So thank you for that.
This was definitely the best way to end 2020. This was the very last book that I recorded for last year. I was super happy about that. And I actually, at the end of the year, a lot of narrators take part with the APA, the Audio Publishers Association, and we hashtag the last sentence that we record for the year. And this was my book. This was my last sentence of the year. So the very last sentence of your book will be in, I'll link you to it when they post APA.
Oh, yeah.
A little thing of they do a little story where they take every narrator's last sentence and they combine it together into like one big kind of a story of some sort.
Oh, cool!
It's really funny. So, and your book is in there this year, so, for 2020. So, I'll tag you on that when it comes out. It's just fun.
So Emily, this book is not out yet.
Nope.
But can you give for those who don't know, can you give a brief summary of what the book is about?
Yeah, so it's set in Eurasia, which is this ancient Greekish inspired world, and Karis works for the Scriptorium, and they really want to reanimate the automatons because they were once this amazing army, but they're now lie dormant, and all Karis really wants is just to go and find her brother who was sent away. And so she actually manages to reanimate an automaton, and she discovers that he can think and talk and feel and do all these things she was always taught automatons could not do. So rather than hand him over, the two of them escape from the scriptorium, and they go to find her brother and also discover all of the secrets that are in Alex's past.
Mm-hmm.
He's the automaton.
That's wonderful. I got goosebumps just hearing you say that.
No.
Yeah, that was such a good story, such an interesting story of the automatons. And like, where did you come up with the idea for Alex and for him being so special and being so different? I'm just curious. I think I might know some of the sources that you kind of probably inspired it, but I'm really curious. I just want to hear your take on it.
Yeah. Oh, and Alex is the automaton that has, just the very kind of human-like qualities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So very early on, he was actually a golem. So when the story first opened, that's what he was. And then we eventually decided to switch it to automatons because they actually have the roots in ancient Greece. Like, obviously, they didn't make anything like Alex, but they were making very simple automatons back in ancient Greece. And there was also the legend of, I think his name is Talos. And he was this absolutely giant automaton who lived on the island of Crete. And he would defend the island of Crete when it was invaded by whoever invaded the Cretes way back when. Talos is especially the inspiration for the largest automaton, which is called the Colossus, as you two know. So yeah, because that sort of had the ancient Greek idea, we decided to go with automatons. And I just knew that I wanted this non-human character in this book who was kind of waking up after all of these years and who kind of had all the secrets of the past in his head. He just couldn't access any of them. So yeah, I knew I kind of wanted that dynamic of Karis finding this automaton and realizing he's more than she ever thought, and then having to sort of find ways to trust each other and to walk with each other when they weren't sure where they stood.
Mm-hmm. I think the most surprising thing about this book, and I'm not giving anything away, I promise, but the dynamics of the different relationships, because I think because of the genre and what you come to expect from it, you think it's going to go one way and then it doesn't, but it's the relationships are all very surprisingly sweet and very well connected.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I loved writing the relationships. They were one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Because I think with young adult books, like, relationships are just so central in teens' lives. Like, whether they're romantic relationships or friendships or even family ties, like, that's so big when you're a teenager. So I really wanted to express that in this book.
Well, you did that successfully. That was a beautiful part of the story. Super impressed. The relationship between Alex and Karis is awesome, but also the relationships between all your side characters. You put a lot of nuance, even if some of the characters only had a few lines of dialogue. You put a lot of nuance, even with I can't remember his name. There were a lot of characters in the book, but Alex's father, or the script master that created him.
Master Theodis, I think.
Yes, Theodis. Yes.
It's amazing how quickly I forget to have to be away a couple months.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because going into this, I was like, Aaron, I narrated this before Christmas. I hope I don't forget everything. You wrote the book.
He didn't have a lot of dialogue in the book. He had this one section, and it was Alex going back through his notes, his books, and he was remembering conversations. But the way that you brought him into the story, in such a short period of time, you gave him so much personality, and you learned so much about where Alex came from so quickly in that little, I think it was just like a one-page little note thing. It was so interesting how you pulled that off, and how you gave all these characters that had these really small parts throughout the book so much nuance, and you made them kind of come off the page so quickly. It interesting. You don't see that very often in books. You do in really, really well written books.
Thank you. Yeah, Theodos was interesting because, of course, he was such a central character to Alex's lives, and he had no page time except for like that one flashback. So
yeah, he talked about
an
the entire story, and then yeah. So that was super cool. I like that. I like that part of it. What else? Oh, I had all these questions in my head. I should have written them down. Questions. There was like a steampunk vibe, and I think it was because of the automatons. The book's not like a steampunk. It's not a steampunk genre book, but you gave it a little bit of that vibe with the automatons. I thought that was super cool.
I get why you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost expect, I was almost, when you were bringing up the idea of, or when you brought in Captain Zara, I was like, is she going to go like skyship route? Is it going to be like that kind of a thing? It wasn't, but I was like, oh, that was so, like the automatons kind of gave me that kind of steampunky feel, which I thought was interesting. And also there was with Alex's character, he had this Frankenstein, Edward Scissorhandsy kind of little bits and pieces of his personality, and Pinocchio had. I felt like were any of those influences for his character?
He's my cinnamon roll monster. I know I wanted like just a character that would have traditionally been seen as like very scary and monster-like, and just be completely gooey and caramelly on the inside.
He was. Yeah. Okay, so that felt right. When I was reading that and I was talking to my wife about that, we had a long conversation about this book, and we were talking about like he reminded me so much of little bits of Edward Scissorhands, little bits of Pinocchio, little bits of and his relationship between Theodos was very Geppetto, and it was interesting. It was interesting. It felt like you had a little bit of inspiration from all these real classic sources, all these books that I read when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, and I still read these books, like children's books and stuff. I thought that was really.
I also caught on to the Edward Scissorhands kind of vibe, because there was that feeling of like, all I want to do is love, but I also have the ability to destroy. Like, oh.
It was wonderful, so wonderful.
Alex is probably my favorite character to write. I mean, sorry, Karis, but Alex just had some very cool dynamics inherent in him, so that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another question. I think I already asked you this, but do you have any plans at all of making more books? Of making this a series, or spending more time in this world that you so meticulously created?
I mean, not currently. I actually really like writing standalones, just doing that story that kind of stands on its own and that readers can just, experience and then kind of move on to the next book. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind like writing maybe more short stories. I did one from Dane's point of view for the pre-order campaign.
Ooh.
But as of right now, I don't have any plans for other books.
Okay. Is there any way that I can influence you, or send you checks?
Maybe one day, yeah.
Way? Okay.
And I mean, that's also on the publisher's end too. Like, I sold it on a standalone, so I mean, maybe if it did well enough, one day I could go back.
So is there anything that? I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, is there anything as you were writing this book that helped inspire you? If you had a little writer's block going on, is there a song you would listen to, or another book that you would read to get yourself back in the vibe?
I actually listen to a lot of instrumental music when I write. I find anything with words gets really distracting. Sure. So there were times when I was stuck, I would just put on the most epic instrumental music I could find to kind of get everything going and get me all charged up and excited to write. But I'm a pretty meticulous planner, so usually the snags happen in the outlining stage, because once I'm actually in the writing stage, I know exactly what I want to do. So usually it's outlining that I have issues with. And I'll also like take my dog for a walk and just get away from the project for a bit and then come back later.
Oh, that's smart. Very smart. Yeah.
So you're a plotter, not a pantser.
Yeah, I'm a complete plotter.
A pantser writes by the seat of their pants. Yeah. A plotter plots out.
I've tried pantsing and I was horrible at it, so I always have my stack of cue cards and
I write the same almost almost identical. I tried doing I've tried writing kind of pant style, and I enjoy the idea of it, but I can never make any kind of a cohesive story. I always have to go all the way back to the beginning and start all over. And okay, this is a great like attempt at writing something, but outlining is much
I
more
know.
fun.
I just can't hold everything I need to in my head unless I have an outline that I'm waiting from.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
How long was this story kind of living in your head before you finally outlined everything and wanted to
This
tackle it?
this one was actually quick because the project I signed with my agent ended up not selling, and so she asked me to pitch an idea, and it ended up being this idea. So the main idea probably came in a week or two, and then maybe the entire project, like including writing and then editing, took maybe a year.
Hmm.
But that was as fast as I'd ever done. Most are like 3 to 4 years. So yes, this one was very quick.
Yeah, wow. So is this your first published novel, or do you have
Yeah,
others?
yeah.
This is
This
your
is
first
my first
published.
published one.
Okay, okay.
What a
Nice.
debut.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. I I read that somewhere in a review somewhere, and I wasn't sure if it was actually true, but you just you confirmed that. Wow. What a great way to start off. There's a wow, that's super impressive. There's another author that impressed me with his first novel, and it was Pierce Brown.
Ooh, Red Rising, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That ended up being like a 5 book series, I think. But that was I can't think of another book that impressed me as much.
thank you. I
First
haven't
novel.
read Red Rising, but I need to.
Oh, it's a fantastic story. Violent, but fantastic. I think you'll appreciate the storytelling that went on. But back to your book. It's
Can I
fascinating.
ask you guys a question? Because I'm
Sure.
really interested in like the audiobook process, like, and I have no idea what it looks like. So what does it actually look like?
Messy,
Messy.
sweaty. Mm.
Sweaty. In your booth, maybe my booth is completely air conditioned, and my booth is a comfortable 71 degrees.
Stop
Um,
bragging.
I think you actually have a nicer booth. No, the process is each narrator has their own process, but it's all very, very similar. We start out, we get the project. So either a publisher or an author asks us if we want to work on the project, and they usually send us the book. We take a look at it. We agree to it. We sign our contract.
But most of the time we just say yes.
Yes, because we want the work. Yeah, because it's really nice to work, and it's really, really nice to pay your bills. Like it's nice to have a house to live in. And if you're lucky, some of us get to actually only do this. And so it's great when we get projects. And then we prep our projects. We read the book, make our notes. If we're working with other narrators, we will compare notes back and forth. Sometimes we'll chit chat. Sometimes we won't. Sometimes we'll come up with the same ideas. Some stuff, unique stuff that I do is I cast the entire book in my head. Well, like in my notes. So I'll assign actors to certain characters just so I can get a feel for who that person is, how I'm going to portray each character inside the book, which is where I was talking about Frankenstein, Pinocchio, Edward Scissorhands. Those are my characters for Alex because those spoke to me, and what I was getting from the story. Those were the closest relations that I had, so that was what I leaned on, all the sources that I have. And there were some other characters from like TV shows and movies that I kind of applied. Um, for some reason, Captain Zara reminded me so much of Samantha from Sex and the City. Just a certain piece of her character was just her forwardness, her brashness, and just her ability to just take command of a room every time she walked into it. Those the little bits and pieces that I pulled for certain characters. So that's kind of my process. It's part of my process, anyways. There's more to it once I actually get inside the booth and I start working. But I'm sure Melissa has something totally that's much more cool about her process. Do you? Or
Not really. No, I mean, I would say I basically have the same process. Yeah, and it in just reading the book, it's funny. So, and I'm sure Aaron, you'll agree with this. Some books, you feel like you're kind of trudging through molasses, trying to get through that because I don't maybe the words aren't flowing like you need them to or whatever, but there are books that just flow, and this one flowed,
Oh
And
yeah.
when that happens, it's magical. And usually it's not just because it's good writing, but a lot of times it can be personal. You can see a lot of yourself in the character, and so some
Yeah.
things just come out naturally, I guess. Does that make sense? Like,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
The writing process is the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes it flows, sometimes it's sticky.
Yeah, this one was not sticky. And I like, it's considered young adult, yes, the young
Yeah.
adult genre,
Yeah.
but very enjoyable for adults to read as well.
Oh, I love young adult books.
Hmm.
Me
I spend
too,
a lot of
obviously.
time. Yeah, I spend a lot of time reading, and I really like it. I could totally picture this book being turned into a movie, and it would be a movie that I would definitely, if theaters were open, I would definitely
Yeah.
go and check this out. This is so interesting, so unique. I could definitely see this becoming a movie.
Oh, can I just make an amendment about something I said?
Yeah,
There was one sticky part, and it was that I had to say automaton anatomy. I could say it that time, but my God. Yeah, I think I got to a point where it was that automaton anatomy was in a sentence. I was
I'm
like
sorry.
20 takes in.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I've been there. I've been there. There was something else, and it was the same word, and it was, I don't know if it was anatomy, but there was a string. There was a
It's always the
sentence.
vowels.
Yeah, there was a sentence where it was like, I was like, bah, 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 bah. I could feel myself getting tense and tense. I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna get through it, and I didn't.
And I never think of that as an author.
No, and of course you wouldn't. No, trust me, that was
It's when
the
you're
one.
saying the words out loud. It's just one of the little things that kind of pops up. Um, I remember, yeah, I remember that there were a couple of sentences that were like that. Yeah. But that's good. That's a good thing. That's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, the work really isn't all that much fun. Like, unless it's challenging. It's challenging some part of you. And yeah,
And how long it takes? Like, can you do a sentence at a time? Do you have to like do a paragraph at a time, or
it depends. Something that was like, going back to what Melissa said about flow. A book like this that flows really, really well for me. I can go paragraphs, pages sometimes. It depends on how much the dialogue bounces back and forth and how different the characters are. Sometimes I'll do some start and stop. If I start losing my characters a little bit, or if I start drifting, like, to go from, if you have multiple female characters in a scene all talking to each other, for me, it's a little bit more difficult. I might have to start and stop and kind of remember, or give myself my cues to get myself into every character. Every character I have has a cue, and that's how I stay in character. Sometimes it's just a word, or sometimes it's a sentence, or sometimes it's just a mnemonic that I have in my head that reminds me who that character is, so I can keep that voice over the course of 4 or 5, 6 hours of a book. I'm sure it's the same for Melissa, but reversed. I'm sure if she had a chapter that had 7 males all talking, it might be similar for her. But
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever gone pages without stopping,
really,
but I'm not Aaron Shedlock level, so
right, happen often. That doesn't happen often, honestly. A lot of times, sometimes it'll get sentence to sentence. It depends on the time of the day. If it's right before lunch, once I start feeling myself dragging and I'm starting to narrate sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph, then, because the more you got to start and stop, you might be getting a little frustrated. So you don't want to bring that into the project. So you take a break, you walk the dog, you go outside, I get some more coffee, or I go and I eat. But sometimes when you're having a really good day and you're flowing really well, and the dialogue and the narrative are just working for you, or you're just really into it, you'll just go for a while.
Hmm. Yeah, so it can be either way, but we love what we do, so we're used to the stop and start,
Yeah,
and
it all flows. We have technology at our hands. It's not, I can't imagine what it was like 25 years ago when narrators like Frank Muller were doing all this on tape, and they would go for 10 minutes.
oh
You know,
my
I
God.
can't imagine that. I mean, I've never gone 10 minutes. I'm no Frank Muller. I'm no Melissa Moran.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird process. It's a weird job too. It's like, I never, I never thought that I would be doing something like this. If you'd asked me like 10 years ago if I was going to sit in a booth all day and read books and actually get paid to do it, I would have said you were crazy.
Emily, did you think you were always going to be a writer?
I always wanted to be a writer. I wasn't sure always if it would happen, but yeah, from a pretty young age, I knew I wanted to be a writer.
That's cool.
Was there ever an alternative?
I mean, I do work in a library, and I really love library work. Like, I don't think I would ever want to totally give up library work. So if I wasn't an author, I would just spend even more time in libraries than I do.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. That was my favorite. That like when I was growing up, that was my favorite spot. The library and the book fair. My two favorite.
I love the book fair, the Scholastic book fairs.
Yeah.
I still remember the cover of one of the first books I got. It was like based on it was like a teen lovey-dovey kind of book, and it had like a lifeguard, a cute little 15-year-old boy lifeguard on it. I was like 13. So to me, this was like hot romance. I was like, oh my God, he's shirtless and he's on a beach. But
I have
yeah,
a vague
that was
memory
also
of
a
the cover
steamy
of that
novel
book.
read at the time. What?
I have a vague memory of that, of seeing something like that. I remember there was a whole series of those books where it was teen romance, and yeah, there was like a young dude in a bathing suit, kind of by a pool, just kind of like being a cool high school guy. Just, hey, how you doing? I have a vague memory of. I have no idea what book that was, but
Yeah. Oh, there were probably many. Who knows?
That and the Hardy Boys. I was really into the Hardy Boys for a long time. Nancy Drew. Then there were all the Choose Your Own Adventure stuff. Yeah, the book fair was one of my favorite. I loved when the book fair came because the books were cheaper, and yeah,
It was the jewel princesses for me. They were little princesses, and you got a little like jewel necklace with every book.
Oh wow, I don't remember that. We didn't get necklaces for books that we bought.
And that there's the difference between someone like me and a beautiful, intelligent woman like Emily. I was like, I want to read about shirtless dudes, and she's like, I was reading about royalty.
Yeah.
Typical.
Melissa. We narrate a lot of romance books together, me and Melissa, and other types of books too. Yeah. We've worked on several projects together. Always have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you have like a special like voice you use when narrating? Like, would you have, like, is your Karis and Alex voice like different than how you sound right now, or?
Oh yeah, because they're characters, and since they're written in first person, you have to be you're in character the entire book. So Alex was a very I would call him soft spoken, but he had a bit of innocence that just came through in how he spoke.
Can I hear something?
And go.
Alex was very. I wish I had the book in front of me, and I don't on this computer. I don't, because I'm on my PC. Alex was just he was very sweet, and he was always very concerned, and he had a little bit of innocence because he was held back from the world, and everything was just so wondrous to him, like throughout the story. But he also had a strong side where he was very angry at times, and he knew, like when those situations came when he had to protect people, it's like a different part of his personality came out because he was an automaton and he was developed and built for a very specific purpose, but he also had this wonderful, beautiful little personality inside. So it was like a shift. His personality shifted throughout the book, and it was a flow. And Karis was similar because she was raised a certain way with this to believe a certain thing, and then she was learning a lot of truths that she didn't know. So I'm sure Karis's voice changed throughout the book. And did she sound like Melissa, or did she sound like somebody else?
I would say for the most part she was very Melissa, because I did find a lot of myself in this character. She, I liked that she had this like totally adventurous side, very what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a rebellion attitude of
That's you. I can see you being a rebellious. You're a bit of a rebel.
I mean, I'm always trying to start some stuff, so you know. No, but she just, you know, she had uh I'm losing my words, but yeah, no, she was a rebel, but she was also kind of quiet. But that changed. Like she just totally owned her power by the end of the book, and it was so interesting to see her shift.
Yeah. And Alex too. He had a wonderful shift. He had a beautiful character arc. Everybody had some sort of an arc that they stuck to. Even your little side characters, you know, they didn't have a lot of dialogue. They had their own little arcs that you there's a lot of nuance in this story.
I would be curious. I didn't realize you had written something about like a Dane prequel.
Yeah, so
I
for
would
the
be interested
pre-order,
in seeing that.
Yeah,
yeah,
me too.
yeah, it was for the pre-order campaign. So I mean, people can still pre-order if they'd like and get the short story. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
from Dane's point of view, and it's set maybe 6 years before the events of this novel. So it's
Okay.
when Karis and Dane are still on Talos, and
Mhm.
Dane's about to try to get into the guard and become a soldier. So it's
Hmm.
kind of that time.
I like
But
Dane.
yeah, that was lots of fun because I hadn't gone to write from his point of view before then. So
Hmm. Well, I pre-ordered a couple copies. I went to every Barnes and Noble in the city and ordered a copy just so because I know that's super important, especially for a new author.
yeah,
Is like the pre-orders almost dictate and determine how well the publisher thinks the book is going to do. It's based
yes,
on the
pre-orders are
at least,
huge.
yeah, yeah. I've got some other author friends that I've talked to about that. So I did my part.
Thank you.
You know. So, well, cool. So well, I didn't know that that was a pre-order thing. So I think I guess that'll come with the book. I did the hardcovers. So
Okay.
so I'll have actual physical copies because I had to have it. Had to.
Yes.
And I
For
This is
know you
anyone who
don't.
has ordered the book, you do have to sign the little form. I can just, I mean, send it to you too, but
okay.
yeah, for anyone else, they do have to fill out a little form that's just on my website and my Twitter
Okay.
profile. And
And I know
Awesome.
you don't like to talk about sequels, and you're happy with this possibly being a standalone, but like Aaron, I mean, come on. Like there could totally be like what happens to these
Captain
characters. I mean, I can't like I'm not
yeah,
gonna you
I want Captain
what happened
Scarlet.
these two characters and these two characters. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you could totally go off and write a couple more based on
I
those
did try to
characters.
make the world expansive enough that I could expand it if I ever needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Patiently waiting. Oh, did I hear
Is
a
that
meow?
a cat?
You did, yeah. It's my kitty.
I love cats.
Come down here. Come here. Up, up, up. She's old. She's
Oh,
old. She's trained. Come here, you. Oh,
that's getting my dog too. He's 12 now, so.
whoops.
Oh, hi, kitty.
Mine too. Aww.
This is Willow. She's 16. She turned 17 this year.
Aw,
Gosh.
that
She's my
is an old
studio
kitty.
She causes so much trouble in her young and
Favorite
old.
cat, though.
She's rebellious. She's spunky. She tends to she's an old cat, so she does old cat things like she throws up a bit. She likes to do it on expensive equipment. So she's not allowed in my booth anymore.
You don't really want to hear a cat hacking on an audiobook.
Special bonus content.
Yeah.
For bonus content, my cat Willow hacking in the back. Yeah.
You know, I actually had to start locking my dogs out of the room where I record. Like, I have a booth, but I mean, this thing isn't as soundproof as I would like. And so sometimes when I'm narrating like a love scene, I'll hear my dog start licking herself.
I know that I experienced the same exact thing, except I have a very large dog and I have a huge 160-pound wolfhound who he sleeps right outside my booth, like right outside of my booth.
And he snores, right?
No, but he'll get a good
No.
hit going on, or he'll get a good lick going on in his
Yeah,
cough.
yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. You know, it's 160. He shakes the room when when he gets going, and you gotta open the door, Lena. Quiet, I'm working. I'll be in a half hour. Yeah, I'll take
This
you out.
conversation took a turn.
Yeah.
So
And
have you always recorded at home, or is this a new pandemic thing?
I used to record in studios, not books, but I used to record voiceovers and stuff in studios. I built a home studio 6 years ago. 2015 was when I built my first closet studio, and I upgraded slowly from there as I kept getting more and more projects.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not going to tell your history. She used to be on the radio. She's famous.
No, I'm not.
We've met so many famous people. It's not even funny. I'm so jelly.
Yeah, no, I started out actually recording audiobooks at the radio station I used to work at because they had a production room. And
I know that. That I didn't
yeah,
know. Awesome. What
yeah, it got real awkward real fast. That's why I had to switch to a home studio because I was doing the morning show, so sometimes I would sneak in at like, 3:30 in the morning and kind of start recording in the production room. But then everyone started coming in and I didn't want them to hear what I was narrating. So yeah, I had to eventually switch it up. But I started there and now everything is home based, even with the pandemic. Aaron and I both have our recording booths and it's the best job in the world. And do you have an office that you work in or do you have a special place where you write?
Yeah. This is my
Mhm.
office. Yeah. I have a
Uh,
desk and room, but it's messy, so.
I'm not even going to turn my camera around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have my office at home, which is really nice because it's kind of that space that's set aside for work.
Hmm.
This is my space. This is my office. This is where I work. And then my booth is on the other side of just this microphone. I go out of this door, go around, I go inside that, and they're both connected, and I have cameras in there too. So this is where I work. This is where I do a lot of video game streaming and Twitch streaming and just goofy stuff like that. So and I collect a ton of toys and play music and record, and this is my creative space.
It looks much cooler than mine.
Emily, what's the weirdest thing you have in your office?
The weirdest thing I have in my office?
I don't want to get into this. Don't flip this back on me, Melissa.
I have a Disney Advent calendar currently that I'm using to count down to my book.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
yay.
Somebody got it for me for Christmas, so yeah.
I have a
I
weird.
started 24 days before my book, and I just get to open a case and get a little Disney figurine.
Cute. Oh, he's searching.
Speaking of Christmas, this was the most awkward thing I have in my studio right now. There's other stuff I'm not going to show you, but I got this for Christmas from a friend of mine. It's the Keanu Reeves coloring book. I think it was because of my hair, and you notice on the front cover, it's Keanu Reeves with a dog, a little puppy on his motorcycle. Yeah, I haven't started filling it in yet, but that's one of the strange things in my office.
I love it.
What about you, Melissa?
I
So,
should have expected that. I guess there could be a couple things. Okay, so sometimes I do, well, this has a couple different purposes.
okay.
So,
I'm nervous for you.
I do some on-camera work sometimes if my agent remembers me.
I forgot about that.
And so when I'm doing an audition and I need like an eye line, like if I'm talking to someone off camera, I have.
Oh, I have this too.
Maybe like a skull.
I have this in my booth.
Do you? Oh, hold on.
This is another narrator trick.
Well, I don't know. Hold on.
That's fantastic.
That's terrifying.
Does she have a name?
Ahead.
Does she have a name?
Brenda.
Brenda?
I just made it up. I don't know.
I've got one of those too. Well, I have Funko Pops in my booth, and that's when I have to, for whatever reason, when you look something, even if it's fake, even if it's a toy in the eye, it makes it feel like you're talking to another person, and that sometimes when you're doing voiceover or narration work, that's very important. That actually shows up in the audio. I can't.
Poor cat.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got those too. I've got those. Mine are Kevin Smith Funko Pops. They're in every corner of my booth, and there's a whole bunch back up there too.
I tried doing that by just cutting out pairs of eyes that I would find in magazines, and then I just realized I looked like a crazy person.
Yeah.
It rubs the lotion on the skin. Yeah, too much of that, so I had to take that down.
Yeah.
Toys are better.
Now you have a head on a stick.
Or a head on a stick. Yeah, that works too. The disembodied floating head.
I might try that. That actually sounds like a great idea. For some reason, I don't know, just for certain projects when you really need to, say, I audition for like a lot of like animated stuff, and when I get a script in, it's like 2-character dialogue. It's really hard to just be one of the characters. It's so much easier when you can look at something. Doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, the Funko Pops, but the mannequin head makes a lot of sense. Feels like a person at the very least. You don't feel like a crazy person having a one-sided conversation.
Yeah, except they're constantly looking at you like this.
Yes. They never blink.
I'm like, calm down. Anyway.
More questions that I have for you. Went over the first book stuff. Do you have plans for, obviously you probably have another book in the works. Is it something you can talk about? Do you want to promote it a little?
Yeah, it just had the announcement, so it's called Silver in the Mist. It is not related, despite the fact that they both kind of have a metal in the name and something kind of like natural in the name. Not related at all. But yeah, it's set on a continent with divided with dying magic, and there's this malevolent force called the Mists that's slowly spreading over the land. So the country is divided in half. So the continent's divided in half between 2 countries. So the main character is actually a spy, and she is sent across the border to capture a very powerful magical castor and bring her back. But then things do not go as planned, and she realizes, the magical castor is not what she expected. So
I love it already.
Yeah.
Can I be an ARC? Can I be can I be a beta reader?
Once it eventually gets to that stage, way in the future.
Yeah.
Little known fact about Aaron, he only does this for the free books.
Yeah.
Like, that's what libraries are for.
Free
books are pretty awesome, though. I love getting new books.
I love free books. They have a library of free books, kind of. But I also go to the library.
And how long does it take to do an entire audiobook project, including all the outtakes? How many hours roughly does?
For me, I narrate about 9,300, 9,600 words per hour. Average book is 80 to 100,000 words, so 8 to 10 hours. This is your average book. If it was a full book and I wasn't working with somebody else, 8 to 10 hours would take 16 to 20 hours ish. Sometimes it's a lot faster. It depends on the book. It depends on how well the book flows. Sometimes you can do an hour and a half per finished hour. If it's really, really good and it's really flowing. Your book was quick. Your book was a fast read. Very, very fast read. Maybe even a little less than that. But yeah, I would say between an hour and a half and 2 hours per finished hour of a book. So 16 to 20 hours for an 8 to 10 hour book. Now, this book, we split it up. So we had, I think, 4 hours each, something like that. Or I think you maybe had a little bit more than me in this one. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it ended up being 5 hours and some minutes, maybe. Yeah.
So if it was 4 hours, that probably took me close to 8 hours of pure recording time over a few days, a couple days, 2-3 days, I think.
I'm more of a slow narrator.
Yeah, I narrate about 90 minutes per day, about an hour and a half finished hours per day. That's about right. That's about the max that I try and work. Anything beyond that, I start to get tired. But I also do a lot of auditioning. I do a lot of other types of VO work, not just the books. So I break my day up. I do morning auditions, and then late morning, early afternoon book, and then back to auditions, and then late at night, Thursdays and Fridays, I get movie trailer auditions. So then I work really late on Fridays because those all seem to come in for the weekend. So.
Well, I'm impressed.
I'm impressed as well.
You work a ton too. You crush books. You read so many books.
I I mean, I guess, yeah, but I'm a little bit slower than you. It takes me a little more time to narrate, and I don't know why. I haven't been able to figure out why I'm such a slow poke, but it works. I just make sure I've allotted the right amount of time to dedicate to a book.
Yeah,
So,
that's all about scheduling. It's all about, yeah.
yeah.
That's why I went down to about an hour per day for a little bit, but I wasn't able to keep up with the schedule that I have because we get busy. I book really far out in advance. Melissa does too. Most of the narrators, when you start doing this full time, you start booking out further and further out. So you'll get like 4 months out, sometimes. And sometimes if you get behind, or if you get, God forbid, if you get sick, and you got to make up some time, you'll have to start doing those 2 hour days, or those 2.5, or those 3 hour days, which are horrendous. But then there's people like James Foster who will read War and Peace in 4 days.
Calm down, James.
He's an automaton. So
Yeah, I have to say, as horrible as this pandemic is for everyone, the one benefit that I've gotten is that wearing these masks, which I do religiously, is I've not caught a cold yet this year. I've
nothing.
not gotten sick at all because of these darn masks, and for that I'm thankful. So I might even consider wearing the mask after everything, knock on wood,
Yeah,
is cleared up, because this is great.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Nothing this year, not even a sniffle.
Yeah.
Allergies,
I just want to correct myself. It's great because I haven't felt sick. I'm not saying the pandemic is great.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
There is an upside. There is a
yeah,
positive. We'll
yeah.
find something. Yeah.
Gotta look for the positives.
I mean, that's all we can do, right?
Yeah. Well, we've been on for 50 minutes, or I'm not even sure where something around here says how long we've been on. If you guys want to keep
51.
going, we can. I'm not sure what happened with the chat. I know there are people watching this, but I'm not sure if my video synced up with the chat. This is the first time I've ever used this particular.
Yeah, I don't see
Usually
anything.
we have like a whole chat window of people like chiming in. But what will probably happen is they will watch the video and then they will chat stuff, and I'll have to spend some time going in and replying to people afterwards. So that was super awesome. But if you guys want to wrap it up, we're good, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming in here and chit-chatting with us and sharing all your super secret stuff about writing awesome books.
And it was really
Yes.
interesting to learn all about the audiobook process because I've always been curious about it.
It's fun. You should try it.
I
It was
don't
really
think I
cool.
could do that.
Well, it's a lot harder. Everyone, it's a lot harder. It's definitely not just sitting in a room and talking. There's a lot more to it. Even when I first started doing this, I had an idea because I had done voiceover work previously of what this was going to be like, and I talked to my friend McLeod Andrews about it, and he gave me a heads up on it, and it was so much more than what I thought it was going to be. Sitting in that booth, it's tough.
And I'm sure a lot of people can say the same thing about writing because I'm attempting to
Oh,
write a book and it
we
is.
do. There is so much chat happening in the channel. We didn't
Oh,
see it.
really? Oh, hi. But no, like, dude, I don't know how you do it, Emily. I gotta find some of that magic because it is really difficult. So, applause to you. And my gosh, I cannot wait to read the next one.
Oh, I can't wait.
Hooked.
Yeah.
I can't wait to finish it. Yay.
Is there like an estimated time? Do you have to give the publisher like a hopeful date? Is it a year from now, 2 years, 3 years?
I want to say in the announcement they said fall 2022.
Nice,
I think that's correct.
Not that far out.
Yeah.
That's a little over a year, year and a half. Well,
That's
I'm looking.
typical for books.
I will pre-order. I will pre-order a few copies of that book,
Thank you.
and maybe you'll hire us to narrate it if you need a.
I think his recording booth is actually made out of books. Built, he just stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mass, right? So it's
Excellent installation. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I'm gonna try that.
That would be kind of interesting. Anyway.
Because I have several bookshelves and they are all filled. So, and I'm starting to. It's not as organized as yours. Mine are starting to go sideways and on top, and every nook and cranny is like, oh, this book will slide it right there, and then I keep buying more books more and more books
I
every week.
specifically cleaned this for events like these, so this is not indicative of what my bookcases usually look like.
Okay, I don't feel so okay because I was feeling a little like, man, I need to go through and organize. Mine does not look like that.
My favorite thing, like the last time I cleaned, I actually had a book on organization and it was shoved in the bottom of like a crate full of junk.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that worked.
that's how it works. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for hanging out, Melissa, Emily.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, everyone that actually showed up and was hanging out and chit-chatting with us in the background. I will have to go back through that chat channel, and I'm going to have to go back through and answer everyone's questions. I'm so sorry. I tried out some new software, and it failed me. I have a little hi there for me that happened at 9/11, and that's all I see. So I will go back and answer any questions that everybody has. No problem. I'll do that.
And I'll let you do that.
You are going to let me do that. So thank you so much again for hanging out.
Thanks, guys. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Good luck, Emily.
Yep, good luck. Shut her down. Here we go. We're going down. Ending stream.